of returning to the present moment over and over again and training the mind to disengage from all the analytical spinning, the thoughts, the emotions, the body sensations, and re anchoring on something in the current present situation. And usually our sensory data, like the sounds that I'm hearing, the sights that I'm seeing. It could be, if you want to do tactile, like holding a rock or a pillow. It could be taste. And in my very first meditation class in college, and I wanted to check out what's Buddhist meditation. So I went to one of these dormitory student union rooms, and I walk in. It's like their meditation room. They got all those pillows on the ground where you cross your legs. And I was a little late as usual. And the teacher is handing out orange slices, and you had to hold the orange slice on your tongue and just taste it and don't chew it. That's so hard. You don't automatically swallow. But today, one nice way to do that with chocolate, let it melt. But the real practice is the muscle of disengaging from all that thought flow. But it's not distraction. It's not that I'm now visualizing or watching TV or talking to a friend. I don't go anywhere, but I disengage. So I could still hear those noises. I might even still hear those thoughts, but I'm not engaging them anymore. And that's the strength of a mindfulness practice. It's different. So it's like an unwelcome guest that I can't get out of the house right now. I want to get rid of the guest, but I can't. So I'm learning to disengage and learning to not care ultimately. And it's a training. It's not so easy. But success in mindfulness is not being able to stay in the present for a long time, especially with all of us who have a history or a present of emotional difficulties. It's the practice of disengaging and returning, disengaging and returning. And you get an A in the class the more times that you don't give up and you keep disengaging and returning. What does it mean, returning? It means an anchor. We're going to choose an anchor. An anchor is where you choose to put the root of your focus. So, if there's many different ways to do it, but for example, if you choose to use sound and you're outside, you might say the sound of the wind or the crinkle. If you're walking meditation, you could do crinkle of the leaves or the sound of the wind in the leaves in the tree or the sound of the cars on the highway or the creaks in the house if it doesn't upset whatever it is. Or if it's visual, it could be the light reflections on the window. Well, you choose one to begin with and you keep going back to it. And what happens is you're busy trying this. Let's say I chose this fancy crystal thing that we got, right? It's cool, whatever. And I want to look at it. So I'm going to put it right down. Oh, can't see it. All right, there we go. And I'm going to keep looking at the purples, the light purple, the dark purple, and all of a sudden, shoot! Oh man, I got to get that letter in today. My mind's going, okay, let go of that. Come back to this shiny rock. I'm going along 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and zoom. Oh man, I got to remember to tell my husband that. Come back gently but firmly. It's a kind practice. It's not meant to be aggressive, but firm. So then all of a sudden you come back. And when I'm looking at this rock, it's not analytical. It's not like, oh, that's a 46-degree angle. And if you add those two up, it's going to equal 90. It's just basic noticing. Like, oh, wow. Look at that. I didn't see it's a little bit sharp on that edge. And it kind of cuts under. And look at those little, like, you're not thinking that, but you're just sort of noticing without analysis. Yeah? Does this make sense?
Yeah, I have a hard time like this is exactly what it goes back to what you're saying. Like when I'm doing homework, I'm like, oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, I need to do it, and then I disengage, and then I go back, and then I'm doing homework, and then something pops up in my mind, and then yeah, same thing with that.
Yeah, so but what would be a little easier is to first practice this for 3 to 5 minutes every day
Okay.
for a week or something, and then try it on the homework because this is a little simpler. Homework, you're asking yourself to re engage and be interested and to try to study and memorize. That's a lot if you're not feeling that grounded and centered, right? So, if on our 10-point scale, that would be um, in a certain way, obviously we all have deadlines in life and certain things have to get done. There's no choice. But ideally, you really shouldn't even do homework unless you're a 3 or less. You should stop and get down from a 6 to a 3 and then a 3 to a 2. Better do homework. It's going to be a lot easier, a lot more efficient. You can spend an hour, I know, struggling with getting a 20-minute assignment done, right? But if you took 5 minutes and you had practiced this a little bit for a week and you felt better, like you could do it, and then you knocked yourself down from that 5 or 6 down to a 2, and then you went and did homework, it would take 30 minutes, let's say. Okay. So 30 plus 5 is 35 instead of 60. So it's even more efficient in that way, if that makes sense, right? So another nice way to do it that's less empty and more nature certainly nice, but also music. Like let's say you have a song you like, better without lyrics because we're trying not to be too analytical. But you can choose one instrument. It's kind of an interesting thing to do, like just the bass, or just the lead guitar, or just the drummer, or just the violin. And that's your anchor. So you're not listening to it for pleasure exactly. It will be pleasurable, but you're only listening to the violin. So you're disengaging from all the other sound. And it's for me, I'm an active person. I hated Buddhist meditation when I did it in my 20s. Like I forced myself to and tortured myself. But it was really like a tank of anxiety torture because I didn't know any of this. And I'm sitting in these things and like I'm just in prison with my head. It was horrible. But now I give myself the freedom I need and I do active meditation. I would do this in the desert. I'll walk. I'm gonna just walk and I'm gonna do this like around me. And it's I like the music so I can engage and I can get, grounded in a similar way. You're not gonna get calm like we did in the breathing, but I will get focused. I will be good, right? So any
So like
questions on the desert?
when you're walking in a desert, hiking or whatever, you're meditating by like focusing on the sounds. Like as you're walking, you're focusing on the sounds and your surroundings.
I would probably do visual because
Okay.
um, in order to do sound, you might have to sit on a rock or walk very slowly and look at the ground or something because you can't really be active. But I'm not talking about climbing a rock. Like obviously, if I'm climbing a rock, no mindfulness, just climb the rock and be safe. But I'm talking about let's say it's a flat path and you're walking slowly and at like a leisurely pace. And you could either go around a circle or you could literally go back and forth. You could go like 2 blocks distance, turn around, come back, turn around, come back. In fact, in traditional Buddhist meditation, in Theravadan Buddha, which is Southeast Asia, which is Thailand, Laos, Burma, and Malaysia, that over there, they have traditional Buddhism as 4 positions: sitting, standing, walking, and laying. And they will practice all of them. I don't really know much why. Actually, I never really looked further into it, but um, one can think about it logically. There's different benefits. It's easier in different ways. So, many questions, or does it make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay, so let's do. I realized I by accident my parents delivered to me today from Chicago. They just moved here, thank God. Um, this
Oh really? Ooh.
this is a mountain dulcimer from Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee, and I impulsively bought it, and it is handmade by this dude over there. So why don't we do 3 4 minutes, and I'm gonna play this, and you could use the sound. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
I'm going to use a picking pattern, and you're going to practice for 3. We'll see how it goes. If I see you come back, I'm just going to stop. But if you want to keep going, and I won't look at you, don't worry. I'm just going to just play this, and you could watch as, like, maybe in the beginning it'll be interesting for 20 seconds, but at some point you're going to get distracted, even if it's not like a big deal. And again, disengage, come back, disengage, come back. Sound good? All right.
Okay. So, do I focus on something visually, or in my mind, do I
Well,
focus on the sound?
I was thinking you would use the sound, but you could do anything you want. If you want the sound to be in the background and focus visually, that's fine. Or if you want to use the sound itself, then you would close your eyes and just come back to the sound, come back to the sound.
Okay, so just focus on the sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing more.
That's it.
Okay.
Simple.
So what if my mind starts going on? That's when I'm like, oh, gotta come back on the sound.
Yeah, and a lot of times what happens is, like, for me and for a lot of people, is you're focusing on the sound. It seems like it's going great, and it is. And all of a sudden, you're thinking about something. You don't even realize you're thinking about something, and then you remember, oh, I'm in the middle of a meditation. I'm not even supposed to be thinking about this. And then you come back at that point, and it could be you were distracted for 25 seconds. And that is the point. I'm training my mind to flow in a different way. So it's really like a practice, and it's building up a path and a muscle. So in the beginning, expect to fail and be happy that you're failing, because you're on the path of success. You have a 5-pound weight, and one day you do a 75-pound weight. It's fine, you know. All right, so let's try it for a couple minutes. Oh, what do you think? How was it?
Really nice. I try. I kept thinking of something. I was like, focus back, focus back, focus back.
Totally.
I picture like the intro of a Disney movie.